Recently, some MPs joined some young people at the Federal Parliament to launch the Make It 16 campaign. They were supporting lowering the voting age so teens will be more politically engaged and bring their concerns to government. At present, young people can work, pay taxes, serve in the armed forces, and make other social contributions. They can drive, be sexually active, be held responsible for crimes, and may soon be able to choose an early death by VAD in the ACT. But they cannot vote for those who make the laws in those areas. Countries such as Argentina, Austria, Indonesia, and Scotland have already lowered the voting age, and so the campaigners say, should we? Not everyone agrees. Some argue that the under-18s lack the maturity or motivation to participate in elections. After all, in those countries that do allow it, very few younger people actually vote. Even if they can work from an early age, die for their country, or be prematurely sexualised and exploited by adults, that's no argument for robbing them of even more of their childhood and putting even more adult responsibility on their shoulders. School-age voters might also be subject to overwhelming influence from parents, teachers, peers, political parties, and social media. While some 14-year-olds may have more life experience, better cognitive skills, or maturer political judgment than some 20-year-olds, they are the exceptions. We have to pick an average, and most countries have gone for 18. Well, I don't know where Jesus would have come down on the question of voting age. It wasn't a big issue in his day. But he did have plenty to say about young people. In taking our flesh, he walked the path of every young person. As an adolescent, he was already about his Father's business and teaching the teachers in the temple. He said he desired to gather the children of Jerusalem together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. And sometimes he affectionately called his disciples children. He told them humbly to assume the posture of the junior. Those who welcomed and served the little ones and the least would be rewarded. Conversely, it was better to be cast into the sea and drowned than to lead the young astray. Jesus regularly encountered young people. He called the youthful John to be the beloved disciple who leant on his breast at the Last Supper. When a young guy told Jesus he'd observed all the commandments, Mark tells us Jesus looked at him and loved him. He stood a child in front of his disciples to give them a lesson. He healed a mute boy, an epileptic lad, a widow's dead son, and an official's gravely ill boy. He raised another official's daughter, "Little girl, I say to you, arise," he said. And immediately she got up and walked all about, for she was only 12 years old. Jesus laid hands on and blessed the young ones who were brought to him, the sick and the healthy, and scolded his disciples for denying young people access to him. "Let the children come to me," he said, "and do not hinder them, for it is to such as these that the kingdom of God belongs. Truly, I say to you, if you don't receive the kingdom of God like a child, you shall not enter it." Jesus gives young people the vote when it comes to discipleship. Nor were young people only passive recipients of Jesus' attentions. Mary was a teenager when she consented to the incarnation. A mere boy provided the bread and fish for Jesus' great miracle, and it was children who outraged the religious authorities by openly singing Jesus' praises as he entered Jerusalem. Then it was Jesus recalled the psalmist, "Out of the mouths of babes and children comes perfect praise." Not that the Gospels romanticise children and young people. A girl beguiles King Herod with her dancing and gruesomely asks for the Baptist's head. At one point, Jesus says, "To what shall I compare this generation? They are like children sitting in the marketplace, demanding fun and games and complaining when they don't get their way." In today's Gospel, we hear Jesus' revelation about revelation. God doesn't show himself to the professionals, especially to the learned and clever, priests and theologians. No, the Father entrusts everything to the Son, and the Son reveals the things of God to those he chooses. Who are these chosen? Jesus calls them nepois, or nippers. But is he being ageist, telling older folk that they've got no chance of grasping the divine? That God's only interest is in the World Youth Day cohort and younger? Or is he saying something deeper about the human heart and what it takes to come close to God? Well, amongst grown-ups, there's the nagging temptation of self-sufficiency. We think we've got all the answers through life experience, scientific method, personal observation, thinking things through. We don't think we need others to find the answers to life's questions or their help to address them. Our egos, worldly wisdom and self-reliance can leave little room for God. Lost in the noise of human achievement and bloated self-belief is the gentle knocking of God upon the door of the human heart, calling for encounter. However, the disposition of a child is very different to this closed-in posture of the know-it-all and the incredulous. The young heart is curious, imaginative, and open to surprises. It is needy, dependent, and trusting of others. The childlike are less likely to be tainted by the scepticism and cynicism that often affects adults. They are like sponges, eager to soak up every experience and constantly learning. They seek correction not so much as a personal slight as a necessary part of discovery. Their innocence also equips them to forgive and seek to be forgiven. Without sentimentalising childhood and youth, these are things we older people can learn from their open-heartedness and docility to having new things revealed to them. The great Russian novelist Leo Tolstoy captured some of this in his short story, The Wisdom of Children, or as it's sometimes translated, Little Girls Wiser Than Old Men. Two young girls in fresh new dresses find themselves in a tangle after one splashes the other with dirty water from a puddle. When the child's mother gets involved, it quickly escalates into an all-out neighbourhood war, with everyone wanting a piece of the action. Lost amidst the chaos of adult shouting, the two little girls have already reconciled and are back laughing and playing together. Tolstoy ends with Christ's words, "Unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Spiritual childhood isn't easy, and growing pains are to be expected. But Jesus' words today are for the children of God, who receives what he reveals with open hearts. Come, learn from me, for like a child I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls.